We are moving right along. So next up is stability or lack of strength, causes of low back pain. Let's get into it. We're going to break this up into two different classifications or two different categories. The first one is weakness. Do you just not have the strength to support your spine and your body? Or are you locking out the joint? Is it locking out as a result of weakness? And we'll explain a little bit why that is and what negative effects locking out your lumbar spine or any joint for that matter can have. So the first one is weakness. So you'll see you've got 5 vertebrae or bones in your lumbar spine. Not only do we have to work on keeping those stabilized together, each in and of itself, but also it connects the upper body and the lower body. So if we're balanced on one leg, what's preventing the body from dropping and all biomechanics and physics on the body? Your core has to be stable. If you don't have a stable core, it's like jumping off of a pile of sand versus cement. I can jump higher, farther off a stable, firm surface, an engaged core. So you'll see we've got tons of layers of muscles that are trying to keep our spine stable. So it may merely be you just don't have the strength. So next up is locking a joint. It is more efficient for your body to lock out a joint and rely on the congruency of that joint to hold you up versus the muscle. So an example of that is the elbow with a high plank. So what I'll do to avoid having my tricep be holding me up the whole time is I'll lock my elbow out. Then I'm relying on just that bony congruency of the joint to keep me up versus the muscle. But here's the thing, it's a lot more stress on the actual joint. So a lot of times what we'll do as a compensation for that weakness of your core is lock out your spine. And what is that doing? If you imagine an analogy like every lumbar vertebrae is a train. You've got those things that connect the trains to each other. Well, your body has what's called a facet joint. Your facet joints connect each vertebrae to the other. When you bend forward, the joint opens. When you're in a neutral position, they're slightly separated, they're the happiest. And when we extend or we go backwards or we lock out our back, they become in contact like you'll see here. So if I don't have it in the core strength, I will lock out my low back as a result of weakness. So you can imagine, just like an analogy, if I jump off of a ladder and lock my knee out, the quad's not gonna work. All that stress is gonna go through the joint. If I'm running and every action equal and opposite reaction, all that force, up to 2.5 times my body weight, if I'm locked out in my lumbar spine and the joint is compressed, it's adding insult to injury, constantly pounding all that force up the chain. This is part 1 of 2 causes of stability. See if you can guess which the next one is. I'll give you a hint. It's at the hip as a cause. So questions, comments, concerns, feedback,